Hi guys, this video is on the full moon in Pisces that happens on the 21st of September 2021. Thanks for joining me. It's really nice to be with you today, and I'm back after my break, so I'm really glad to be back so I can do these videos for you. And this full moon in Pisces happens at 15:04 minutes past midnight on the 21st of September, and that's based on Europe time. So of course, if you're west of Europe, then it's going to be late in the evening on the 20th. If you're anywhere east of Europe, then it's going to be later on in the day, still pretty much in the morning, I would say, on the 21st of September. So you can see the chart next to me. That's a snapshot of the sky at 54 minutes past midnight when this full moon actually happens. And I'm going to have a look at how the planets interact with one another and what energy they create and how you can use this and what really it combines to create all together, and how you can use that energy to your advantage, how you can maximize the good stuff and the potentials of it and avoid the negatives. Because usually, and I mentioned this in the weekly horoscope a moment ago, we do live on a planet that has duality in it. So usually when something is extreme in being super positive, then it also has a potential negative inherently contained in that energy. Okay. So the sun is at 28 degrees in Virgo, and it's 180 degrees away from the moon at 28 degrees in Pisces. And the moon is totally lit up, and it kind of gets to a point in its cycle where it says, okay, I'm getting to a place where I'm at my biggest. I am illuminated, and I'm going to let go of this energy and share it. So during the full moon, a lot of people find it difficult to kind of sleep or to feel at ease because there is so much energy floating around, and we do become invigorated by it. So it's about using this to be either productive or to allow yourself to dream, or to use the additional energy that's available to turn that into some sort of an action or to do something with it. You know, when the full moon is lit up, it's really outward and it says, hey, look at me, look, I'm here. When it's a new moon and the moon is pitch black, it's like, I don't want to really interact very much. I want to go within and I want to figure things out for myself. When it's public like this as such, then it's very much about looking at what you feel on a conscious level, or what's going on in the real world on planet Earth, and what you can change and how you can interact with the planet. All right. So the sun is on a conscious level what really makes you feel empowered and good. 28, 2 and 8 is 10. That reduces to 1 in numerology. 1 in the tarot is the magician. It's about taking action and being pioneering and saying, it's down to me to do it if I want to get things done. And Virgo is an earth sign that's very much about sorting the useful stuff from the not useful stuff. If you think about this time of year, winter is coming as such. So you prepare for the winter, and it's really about getting organized. It's about saying, okay, how am I going to prepare, and how am I going to schedule things for the future? And it is about thinking ahead and saying, how can I get things done in the here and now to improve what's coming up? So you immediately have a greater sense of practicality towards the things that haven't happened yet. So you're very able to prepare. The moon at 28 degrees in Pisces, the moon is what happens on an inner level and what really feels very easy, and emotionally what makes sense. Again, 1 degree is about, it is my job to connect with myself. It's my job to interact with the things that haven't happened yet. And it's in my interest to look at my dreams and the opportunities that are yet to come. So this full moon, first of all, it gives you a great sense of responsibility, and it gives you a sense of, I am capable. I can do things on my own. I don't need to rely on other people. Oh, and when I first printed out this chart and I was looking at it, the phrase that immediately hit me and came into mind was, a talent will be revealed. You discover something about yourself that you didn't know before. So it's not about just the responsibility is mine, I am capable. It's also, wow, I've discovered something within myself that I can use to act, to make myself independent, and to really do something on my own. So this is a really great opportunity to free yourself through your own actions, and to really believe in yourself and to say, I don't need permission or approval or someone to hold my hand. I can do this on my own. It's great. So the moon in Pisces is really tuned in to the abstract things in life, to poetry, to spirituality, to the imagination, to your own intuition, to music, to the things that kind of lift the spirit. And it's like the food of the gods, you know. It's not about eating an orange to feel energized. It's about saying, I want to meditate, or I want to read a beautiful book to fire my imagination and to give me a sense that life isn't just a physical process, it's a spiritual process where I need to nourish myself both physically and spiritually. And you're really able to find ways of doing that. So also pay attention to the things that make you feel good, the things that cheer you up, the things that speak to your soul. What's sitting next to the moon is Neptune. It is at 21 degrees. Neptune is the water planet, King Triton, in, you know, if you want to personify the planet. So the ruler of the oceans, the ruler of the seas, and it's all about the things which are submerged and hidden at other times. That's at 21 degrees in Pisces. So 2 and 1 is 3. That's communication. It's new beginnings. So you're really able to talk to yourself and to see, wow, this is something that cheers me up. I can actually I can see what makes me feel a certain way, which again may seem very obvious. But if you find it difficult to know where you're at, or what does make you feel good and what does depress you or makes you feel anxious, what works for you and what doesn't, basically, you're able to sort the good from the bad via this Neptune in Pisces. And with the sun illuminating the full moon, you have this great organizational ability when it comes to the inner world. With the water planet in the sign that it rules at 3 degrees, you're able to express your feelings very well. You're able to share exactly what is going on for you, and you're able to express that in a way that matches to the inner world. You know, sometimes you sit down and you write a poem, or you paint a picture, or you have a conversation with someone, and you're like, that really didn't come out the way I intended. And sometimes you hear yourself talking and it's like, wow, I'm being really negative. It's not like that. This energy doesn't reveal your feelings. Your feelings are already very clear to you, and your intuition is very strong, and you're likely to listen to it and not to dismiss it. But when you're actually expressing it in some way, it will match what's going on. So if you do want to paint the picture, or you do want to have the difficult conversation, this is a good day to do it, because you're going to say what you mean. Yeah. Mars sits on top of the sun on the other side of the chart. So the sun is at 28 degrees in Virgo. Each house in the astrology chart has 30 degrees. Mars is at 3 degrees in Libra, so there are 5 degrees between them. 28 plus 2 is 30, and then hopping over the cusp into the Libra house, 3 degrees, 5 degrees, right? So Mars is the planet of drive, and it has a sense of freedom through analysis here. And it has a sense that I can move forward when I take stock of my life and I look at everything. So the perspective is really nice. At 3 degrees in Libra, you're able to articulate things beautifully. Mars rules Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. It's in the 7th sign of the zodiac, so it's fundamentally conflicted in itself. And Mars isn't in soldier mode, he's in artist mode. He's saying that I can use my drive and my ambition not to blast away obstacles out of my life and to get things done for me. I'm able to socialize, and I'm able to see other people's perspective. I'm able to build bridges between me and others, institutions, the world. I can make plans for the future again. So that seems to be an important theme here, that you can kind of play the tape forward and see what's likely to happen. So if you're intuitive and you want to make some predictions for yourself, it's a really good time to actually do that, to consult the divination systems and to see what's likely to come up, and then to plan around that, because you're going to be very likely to make sense of abstract spiritual information that you don't usually understand. It will click today and you'll make sense of it. Also, Mars in Libra, you're able to get the motivation together to do the creative work, to express yourself in a way that's beautiful. I remember at school, I had to do a painting in acrylic. And there was a portrait of this, I think it was a Turner painting. I can't remember who the artist was, but it was a Turner painting of this young man. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna repaint that in my little acrylic thing. And I painted it, and I can't really paint. I'm, I'm not an artist. But I was amazed that the image that came out when I painted it, it came through almost exactly as it was. I'm sure it wasn't as good. But for me, it was like, wow, that's a pretty accurate recreation of what I'm working with, of my source material. And it felt like something was working through me and something created an outcome that I could have never really planned. It was just so good. So sometimes the creative stuff has a life of its own and it wants to come through you. So this is the kind of day where you can channel beautiful creative things that I feel often come from Source, and Source then uses us and our talents and our skills to express something here on planet Earth for everybody else. So if you feel like you're a channel or you're a tool for something bigger, and it's your job to interpret the information and to present it tangibly on this planet, then this is the best kind of energy to work with. And it also means that if you are a channel, or you do automatic writing, or you do pray for answers, or you meditate for enlightenment and guidance, you'll get it on this day. You'll be able to make sense of it. You'll be able to connect with it first and foremost, then make sense of it and do something with the info. So if you feel totally lost, use this full moon in Pisces to find the path again and to start walking it. Wow, I love that. Okay, the full moon forms lots of aspect patterns, okay? It's really busy during this time. First of all, there's a trine. And what's interesting about this chart, you'll see all the blue lines, right? The blue lines are harmonious connections between the planets and the luminaries, where they blend their energies together. And a lot of astrologers don't even take note of the trines and the sextiles because they're harmonious. A lot of them focus on the sesqui squares and the squares and the semi-squares where there's friction, because it really creates an intense energy. But the thing that's highlighted most here for me are all the blue things. So it's really about harmony and getting things to work well together. And even things that normally you wouldn't put together, that seem mismatched, they suddenly find a way of interacting harmoniously. And that's what this full moon offers you as well, before I even look at the planets and the aspect pattern meanings, is that there's the ability to weave together things that are usually inherently different, and to appreciate the differences and to get them to work well together. So if there's something about yourself that you can't accept, or that seems incongruous with who you are, and you have an inner struggle with it, you'll be able to see that differently and see how it informs you as a person. We all have things we don't like about ourselves, right? And that we can't accept, and sometimes it takes years and years and years. The great thing about this that I've learned, the sooner you accept the things in yourself that you have no control over, the less conflicted you'll be, the less struggle you have with yourself internally, and the more peace and harmony you can experience. So accepting yourself is really, really important. If you're at odds with yourself, it's really, it's exhausting. So look at this and what doesn't work for you and what you don't like, and integrate it into the person you are and embrace it. And learn to love it. So the moon forms a trine with the south node at 4 degrees in Sagittarius. So that's nice because it takes all of your past experiences and it shows you what you have learned, how far you've come. It gives you a great sense of self-reliance and confidence. And it says, I am really feeling the moment, and I can take all the past moments and bring them together to create something fabulous in the here and now. The moon then forms a sesqui square with Venus at 11 degrees in Scorpio. I spoke about this in the weekly horoscope, but Venus in Scorpio to me is really dangerous because it's a level of intensity and emotion which can be misleading. You know, it's like you go on the subway or the tube, and you you walk down the tram, and the love of your life passes you, or you see someone who just seems perfect and you fall madly in love, and you think you can see yourself getting married already, and then the person walks past you and you feel devastated that you just missed out on true love and love at first sight, and that this amazing opportunity has now passed you by. Nothing has really happened. It's two people sitting on a train getting somewhere, and you've played out this whole emotional drama in your mind without taking any action. I mean, it may be awkward, but if you actually spoke to the other person, something could happen. But it doesn't inspire you to do that. It just inspires you to roll around in these extreme feelings and to fantasize about things which really haven't happened. And it also makes you feel everything really, really intensely. The plus side of it is that you're able to look at the difficulties in your life and to look at those and to heal them. And to say, okay, I do suffer, let's say, with depression that has slowed down my life. It has closed certain doors of opportunity for me because I haven't been able to seize them because of the way I felt. And I forgive myself for that. I will embrace the fact that I have this, and I will try to use future opportunities in concurrence with having this illness, but I'm not going to let it stop me, and I'm going to support myself in working with myself as I am. So you're really able to say, it's okay where I'm at in my life. And even though it's not perfect, I can still do things with this. So Venus in Scorpio is at 11 degrees. 11 is the master number of service. So you have great compassion for other people. You have the ability to see the beauty in someone else's journey and plight, and to appreciate it and to learn from it. You're also able to learn emotionally from what other people have gone through. You don't have to make all of your mistakes by yourself. You can say, okay, well, you fell on your face doing that, so maybe I shouldn't do it. And again, in my experience, that's something most of us don't do. Most of us have to experience the depths for ourselves to learn from them. And few of us have the wisdom to actually say, okay, well, this happened to that person. It could happen to me, so maybe I shouldn't go there. So the extreme emotions are positive in a sense that they connect you to other people, and they allow you to walk in that person's shoes for a second and to imagine what that would be like for you. So there's a great wisdom available to you here. We have the moon then obviously opposing the sun and Mars, which I've spoken about. But in itself, what's going to feel more comfortable is the creative, intuitive process. What's going to feel less interesting or less important is practical, tangible stuff. Like, I really don't want to organize my sock drawer today. I'd rather feel my feelings. And also, I'm really not that interested in cooking you a breakfast and taking you on a sightseeing tour at lunch just to make you happy. I'd actually like to go to the museum myself. You know, it's that kind of, it's just prioritizing and saying, the things that are going on within me are just as important, if not more important, than what you're feeling. So it doesn't mean that you're inconsiderate, but you're taking your own needs into account, and you're really trying your best to use the things that you're learning about yourself on this day, which is, I mean, that's all you can do. Yeah. I think, you know, if you really mine yourself, like if you go deep within yourself and you're like, okay, here are the diamonds and the gold and the emeralds, as in, here's my talent to speak or to write music or to be independent and to not let fear stop me. And if you know those things about yourself and you really remember them, then you can maximize what they offer you. If other people can't move, but you can, then it doesn't matter if people are like, oh no, don't, because you know you'll be able to handle it. Am I saying that? Am I saying that clearly? Yeah, knowing yourself really gives you a lot of power here. And trying to sort it out for other people is just a temporary fix, I suppose. And this isn't about a temporary fix, it's about revealing yourself for your own benefit. Okay, then we've got the moon. What's it doing? It's forming a semi-square with Uranus at 14 degrees in Taurus. So there's friction between the moon and Uranus and Taurus. Uranus is the planet of the unexpected and chaos. And in Taurus, it's chaos in the physical world. It's things that are outside of your control that you can't do anything about. And 1 in 4 is 5, that's freedom. So there may be these things happening in your life at the moment which may seem to keep you stuck. Like, it's all very well that I feel very poetic and creative on this day, but I do have a job working for Tesco, and that's how I pay my bills. So it's all very well to be creative, but let me not pay attention to that, and let me realize and resign myself to the fact that I have this job at the supermarket and that's all I have. That kind of limitation and that kind of blinkered thinking, in the sense of this is my life, so who cares? Why should I even dream and bother? You have a freedom from that. You're able to rediscover yourself as you truly are, before the job, before the current relationship, before the housing situation, before what your life is right now. And you're able to go back to the drawing board and to say, this is who I am, therefore I can create this life. So it doesn't matter if you're 80 or 25, you're able to see yourself very clearly and what you can do with that. So if you're if you're an intern at a law firm, and during this full moon in Pisces, you do realize that you have a talent for writing advertising copy, as an example, then you may realize that the internship at the law firm isn't the right thing, and that you can apply to an advertising thing, and that you can be much happier in that other position. You know, no one else can do that for you. You can do an aptitude test, or do the personality types, you know, the INFJ stuff, or the ENT something, or you can look at many different ways of understanding yourself. You can certainly look at your astrology chart to see where your strengths and weaknesses lie, what you're good at and what you're not good at. But unless you do that for yourself and you actually think about those talents and how you could apply them, it's very difficult for your current boss in the law firm to say, hey, buddy, I think you'd be much better off drawing pictures of flowers. They can't see in you and where the talent is. Only you can do that. And that's where you get this lens here, this you know, the microscope, like it's like you're under the microscope today, or a magnifying lens. That's what I mean. You've got a magnifying lens that really allows you to see yourself as you truly are, and then you can do something about it, because we have all this earth in the chart. So that's fab. Okay, so the moon has the relationship with Uranus, and that's really it as far as the moon in itself is concerned. But there are a lot of other things going on in the chart, like the big blue triangle and the mystic rectangle that I'll talk about, that also influence this. But I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything about the moon. So we've got that with Uranus, then we've got the opposition, we've got Venus, and we've got the south node. Okay, so that's what the moon does in itself. Let's look at Neptune next, because it's conjunct with the moon and they blend their energies together. And Neptune forms a semi-square with Saturn in Aquarius at 7 degrees. So what that does is it gives you a sense that, okay, what I'm looking for in my life is finite. So I live in the desert, so I'm only going to find water by digging for it, okay? It's like being reasonable and working with what you've got. But with the connection with Neptune and the moon, it says, you know what would be even better? If I realize the inner resources. You look at yourself as a circumstance, as an environment, you see, and you're like, these are the blessings of the environment and these are the challenges. And by getting to understand it, I can think about them, I can use my intellect and think about my talents creatively and see how I'm going to apply them in a practical way that's going to build a real foundation in my actual life. So I'm good at numbers, I might want to become a mathematician. Then, I really miss doing these, I love them. It's just, okay. Then we've got Neptune also opposing the Sun and Mars. So it kind of says that, oh yes, that first of all, I have an appreciation for the things that are abstract. Some people only like to deal with nuts and bolts and numbers and things they can touch and feel. Even those people today will have an appreciation for sitting there and dreaming and giving themselves the patience and time to do that. And if you are spiritually inclined, it totally opens up for you. And if you meditate for 10 minutes, you'll be able to do 30 minutes. With the Sun also in Virgo, you'll be able to analyze the information you get and apply it in a practical way. I've said that before, but I really think that's very important, because if you have all these great ideas, okay, but you can't write, then who cares if you've got these ideas? If you can't get them on, I mean, who cares in the sense that for other people? Because you're not able to capture them in a way that other people can interact with your wonderful ideas. You'll keep them to yourself. So it's the ability to actually dream and then to make it available to others through your actions or poetry or art or the way you speak. And that's what you've got today. So the creative ones among you use this as well to have a fabulous output. The Neptune planet also, it forms a sesqui square with the rising sign, so the ascendant, which is in Leo at 5 degrees. And that's wonderful because it gives you the confidence to believe in your dreams and to also see how your dreams can set you free on this planet. It's this fundamental theme that each one of us have been given an environment that gives us benefits and downsides, and that we can use our skills and talents to replicate that on planet Earth. So if I'm a wonderful architect, but I'm working as a gardener, then I'm not giving myself the chance to really thrive. And it's about mixing and matching so that you're in the right place, using the right skills and talents to benefit you. So it's kind of like things that don't make sense coming together somehow. It's interesting. It's like that moment for me when I realized that if I take my daily tarot reading and I put it on YouTube, then that is going to touch a nerve somehow. There were so many conflicting things which would have never told me to do that, and it was in that moment when I meditated and I got that message, take the video and put it on YouTube, that somehow things conspired together to get me to act in a very specific particular way to get something to work. And that's what this is. All of the experiences and the different ways you operate and think and exist on this planet, they somehow conspire they crystallize in one central point that allows you to take action, which will create more freedom in your life and which will build your confidence because you know you're doing the right thing with yourself. So it's kind of like honoring your system by putting it in the right environment or using it effectively. It's like having a supercomputer and only using it to do 5 + 3. It could kind of work out the whole budget for an entire country. But if you're only using it to add 5 + 3, then you're only using 5%. And this is the ability to use 100% of who you are in a practical way to effectively change your life. Not a small thing, right? That's pretty big. Okay. So what else have we got? We've got these big aspect patterns then. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to is the mystic rectangle, which is the big blue rectangle in the center of the chart. If you just tilt your head a little bit, you'll be able to see that. It's 2 trines and 2 sextiles creating this big blue rectangle. And it takes Saturn in Aquarius, it trines the North Node in Gemini and Black Moon Lilith in Gemini. Then it sextiles the rising in Leo, and then we've got another trine between the rising in Leo and the South Node in Sagittarius, creating the rectangle. So it's the ability to think creatively about how you can use information in a practical way, to express yourself despite any doubts and fears that put you in the limelight, that make you independent and give you more freedom in life, while incorporating all your past experiences to enrich the whole process. So it's basically the universe saying, hey, it's time to stop flailing and wandering around, and let's give you this one download that you do want to be a vet, or that you do want to make pillows, or that you do want to work in a very specific niche way or operate in a very specific type of fashion. The more vague you are, the more open you are to disappointment. Let's say, I will take any job. You put an ad in the paper saying, I need to make money, I will do any job. Then you'll get offers to work at an abattoir and to clean roofs and to trim trees or whatever, right? And you can try those out and see what works for you. But it doesn't exactly put you in an enviable position. If you have the inner wherewithal or this download like on today that says, you will be very good as an intuitive chiropractor. No one could have told you that except your connection with yourself and source. And then when you know that, you can build your own business being an intuitive chiropractor, and it's much more likely that you're going to have a good time with that because you already know it speaks to you and it's a type of activity that you enjoy. And it doesn't have to be only linked to work. It can be, you realize on this day that you prefer being in a relationship than being single. And if you know that, then you can do something about it in theory, well, and practically. Then you can start to meet other people and work towards being with someone. But if you don't know what you prefer, then you have to try out the differences and see which one makes you happy and which one doesn't. So this is really a shortcut to finding a life that works for you. And it's the universe today extending a hand and saying, here, let's look at this. You seem a little bit lost. Let's give you a leg up. Let's give you some clues as to how to live your life. So if you are totally lost and you have no idea what you're doing, that's a good thing today, because you'll find out. Then we have a big blue triangle. You can see that it connects Saturn in Aquarius, again, the North Node and Black Moon Lilith in Gemini, and Mars in Libra and the Sun in Virgo. And a big blue triangle like this is called a Grand Trine, and it's an area of talent. Do you have a talent? Okay. So Saturn, I've talked about this a lot, but Saturn allows you to think creatively and how you can apply the info, particularly in the way you express yourself, taking care to include your personality and all your experience on this planet, and then to articulate it beautifully. So the big talent today is that whether you feel creative or not, you have the creative spirit on you today. And whether you speak something or whether you write it or whether you take action, it's going to have a creative element to it. So it's the difference between trimming a hedge and cutting the hedge into a little bunny. It's the difference between having a conversation and really having a conversation which touches both of you emotionally. It's the difference between organizing a spreadsheet or planning your future in a way that balances out work and leisure time in a way that works well for you. So that's the big talent. And then we have the Grand Trine, and when a Grand Trine, the big blue triangle, has two sextiles sitting on top of it, like it does here, then it becomes a kite. It becomes a talent that can really take on a life of its own, and it can take off. And this Grand Trine has 4 sextiles sitting on top of it, so we have 2 kites. So this is a big day, okay, because your talents and your skills are so heightened that they can alter your life. The first kite, we've got the big blue triangle, and the 2 sextiles include the rising sign in Leo at 5 degrees. So the big talent or the big opportunity here is that you can take your skills and the things that inherently you own about yourself, the things that make you different and the skills that you have, and how you can use them to put yourself into the limelight. If you want to be famous and you ask that question, what can I do? How can I use my skills and talents to be famous? You'll get a good answer. And not only that, you'll be able to take practical steps to realize that. So Leo is also about putting yourself in a position of, I feel confident in what I'm doing. So if the question is, how can I find something in life that makes me feel confident, that builds my esteem, that makes me feel like I'm working in a way that makes me feel good about myself, you'll get an answer. It's also about leadership. So how can I use my skills and talents to put myself in a position of leadership so that I can guide other people through what I'm doing? You'll get an answer. And also, if you're an actor or a performer, how can I use my creative ability to entertain others? It's very likely you'll get an answer. Then the other kite is on the other side of the chart, the 2 sextiles sitting on the other side of the Grand Trine. They include the South Node at 4 degrees in Sagittarius. So that's something that actually leads you to this, I would say, because you're able to recognize your own journey and how far you've come, and to give yourself a break to say, I've come so far that I can't be this talentless, horrible person because I've made some mistakes or I've never been, in the spotlight for something amazing. I mean, I don't think most of us go around every day thinking, oh, jeez, I'm just so talented. I mean, I don't. I mean, unless you're like a singer who's already adored publicly, then you may think, okay, well, I must be able to sing well because I've got millions of fans. Okay, it's that self-belief that's saying, hey, actually, I do have a voice, as for an example of one talent, and it's good enough, so maybe I should make a record and present it to the public. And that's really the key. The self-belief comes first, and then the feedback and the public recognition comes second. And that's the second talent, that you're able to do that for yourself and have faith in your own skills and talents so that you can do something about them, take the risk of failure, and see yourself succeed. And that's a big deal, because a lot of the times we just think, oh, I'm sure someone out there can do it better than I can, so I won't even bother. I mean, with that kind of attitude, then you're not going to do anything, and you don't give yourself the opportunities to succeed, because it's self-defeating. You're not going to be self-defeating today. Mystic rectangle. We also have almost another grand trine, but it doesn't quite touch, you see. So we've got Chiron at 11 degrees in Aries, forming a trine with the rising in Leo, and then the south node in Sag, and going back up to the moon in Pisces. So usually you wouldn't count this, because one of the side, it doesn't touch, it's open. But it's still kind of there. So let's kind of look at it. So you're able to be of service to yourself through this self-belief. And then if you tilt your head again, the wonky triangle points downwards, and it intersects the other triangle, the other grand trine. And if you look at it, it creates a Star of David, a six-sided star. Six. But in this case, only 5 points are touching. So it's still there, but it's not as specific and crystal clear as it would be if all the sides touched. But again, in my experience, life isn't 100% crystal clear, so it makes sense. So a Star of David is a perfect balance between the spiritual and the physical. It's like the 444 on my username on the social media stuff, like Gregory Scott 444. It's the idea that if you work in conjunction with spirit and your higher self and what it's trying to tell you, and you translate it into physical action on this planet, then you're set. Then you're on easy street. Then things are going to work out, right? And this Star of David does the same thing. It says that the confidence you have in yourself, the ability to say, I owe it to myself to use my skills and talents in a way that works. I'm not just meant to flail around my whole life. I owe it to myself to do something I enjoy. And again, whether it's work related or not, you know, if it's just for you, I like to make puzzles, then if that's something that you enjoy doing, then this kind of energy says, well, then you owe it to yourself to make a puzzle once in a while, okay? Because it makes you happy, so do it. That intersects with this other grand trine in air, which gives you the ability to make sense of things and to express yourself beautifully. So those then combine to give you this amazing moment in time where it's like, not only do I owe it to myself to do something creatively, but I can do it. I'm going to take the chance to create something and to put it out there. And I believe in myself enough to realize that it's worth doing just for me. But then if I do make it public, then at least I'm giving myself the chance to make a positive contribution, or to take my talents and to give them life in the real world. And as you can see, it takes a lot of ingredients to get to that point. So if you have shied away from putting yourself out there, if you have been full of self-doubt, so you haven't done it, or you feel like other people are better than you anyway, all the ingredients come together to say, hey, just give yourself a chance today, just do it, okay? It's really encouraging. It's like the cosmic art teacher is giving you a pat on the head today and saying, don't fret so much and just paint. And that's what we need sometimes. We can't always just hammer ourselves into moving forward and doing something. Sometimes we need a leg up, and we need to let ourselves be loved into doing something. We can't just always like, oh, you know? It's about, oh, I can. Someone believes in me. I believe in me, therefore I can. Yeah. Okay, and that is it. Is it? We got Jupiter sitting there. Yeah, that's not really connecting to the moon. Connect with Mercury. Okay. Pluto. Pluto kind of connects to one of the triangles. So taking this action can really change your life for the better. you don't have to regurgitate other people's ideas. You can create original content via the Jupiter and Mercury connection. And yeah, that's it. So that's what I get for you during this full moon in Pisces. I hope you have a fabulous time. If you would like a personal reading with me, then please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. Click on book your reading to audio reading with me. And what I'll do is I'll draw up a chart like the one here by using your place of birth, your date of birth, and your time of birth, okay? If you don't have the time of birth, then order a chart rectification with me. That's a process where I work out your time of birth because the chart changes every 4 minutes, so having the time is helpful. Once I have that info, place, date, and time, then I can draw up your natal chart like the one I've got next to me. And it similarly tells me very, very much about you and where your strengths lie and what you can work through and kind of what's destined for you in a way, what's stamped on your forehead. The amazing thing about astrology is that it does take into consideration that there are things that are destined about us. There's certain things that are inherently us. Either we asked for before we were born, or that just are and that are beyond our control. But it also recognizes that we have free will and that we can make choices and decide to become certain type of people. And it goes into the middle there and says, this is what's destined, this is where you have a choice, and let's look at the way through this so you can use all your skills and talents by making good decisions and having a fabulous time on planet Earth. And that's why looking at the astrology chart is so useful when you're trying to understand yourself or trying to plan ahead or looking at really what's likely to happen to you and what you don't need to worry about and what's going to come naturally and where you do need to use a little bit more elbow grease and make a little bit more of an effort. So if you have any questions about yourself, who you are, what's coming up in future, what the trends are astrologically via your transits and when it would be a good time to move or to invest or to get married or to avoid signing contracts or anything like that, I can look at that via your transits. If you have questions about location, what's really good for that is astrocartography. It kind of reverses this process. So rather than looking up at the sky, I position myself in the sky and I look at how the planets were moving over different parts of planet Earth at the moment you were born and what each area then inherently contains for you energy-wise. So for one person, Germany may be very restrictive and boring. For you, it may be super inspiring and carefree and fun. But it's based on your astrology. So if you have any questions like that, then please do get in touch with me for a personal reading. gregoryscott.com. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe and share the video online. Have a fabulous time during this full moon in Pisces, and I'll speak to you for the daily tarot readings, the weekly horoscopes, and all the other videos I do on the channel. So check those out. Have a great time, and I'll speak to you soon.